This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and what's worth doing is worth doing for a 7th time. This is the 7th generation of the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga. So the Carbon and the Yoga are, well, close siblings. The Carbon is the normal conventional laptop. The Yoga is the one that, well, it yogas, and it has a pen and a touchscreen by default. And as ever, it's quite thin and light. It's around 3 pounds or so, and it is updated this time. I mean, we already saw the 16 by 10 aspect ratio display thing going on previous generation, but now we have a full HD 1920 by 1080 webcam because people are still Zoom calling more than ever, a wider trackpad, and Intel 12th generation CPUs, which have a lot more cores and a bit better performance. We're going to look at it now. As ever, you've got the siloed pen. It may not be a huge pen to hold on to, but at least it's a pen, and it recharges in the silo, and it's using Wacom AES technology. And we've got optional 4G or 5G for those of you who want that, which is typical to see those options on a business laptop. We've also got a fingerprint scanner embedded in the home button and an optional Windows Hello IR camera. There is a return of OLED here too. You can get an optional 4K OLED display if you want to have that, or 4K plus, given the aspect ratio. And you have a variety of full HD 1920 by 1200 displays to choose from, 400 nits, and there's a 500 nit privacy screen, which has a new technology. It's kind of fun and kind of creepy in a reverse creepy way, I guess, though they're using the webcam. And so you got the privacy mode enabled, and it can use the webcam and tell you if there's somebody lurking right over your shoulder in the sweet spot where the screen is still viewable. So that's kind of cool, you know, busted, whoever's snooping back there. Nice. Intel 12th generation CPUs, you got Core i5 and Core i7 options, and there are vPro options, which again is typical to see available for business laptops, and Lenovo always waits to refresh these until the vPro version of chips is available. We have Intel Iris Xe graphics on board. This is an Ultrabook. You're not going to get dedicated graphics or anything crazy like that. RAM, you can go anywhere from 8 to 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM on. That's going to be soldered on, so get it with the amount that you want. Now, Lenovo's done this before, but sometimes they tie the amount of RAM to a certain CPU. For example, if you want the 32 gigs, you have to get the top of the line Core i7 with vPro. If you want to get 16 gigs of RAM, you just have to get a Core i7, period. So you get the idea. Probably a lot of people are going to option that i7 anyway. Performance here is a bit better than 11th gen. We'd hope so, right? You'd be sad to see it go backwards or stay exactly the same. Despite the fact that we now have the high performance and low power core thing going on here, more cores in general, performance isn't leaps and bounds better, but it's good enough, and it does seem to help it manage keeping a higher level of performance without having to throttle. And this one will push the performance. Believe me, if you do something like benchmarks or real heavy duty things, probably heavier than most people do with a business 14-inch Ultrabook, it will clock that CPU there at 95, 96 degrees centigrade, and it will also keep the core clocks up higher. So it's good to see the performance there. Certainly among Ultrabooks, especially ones that are super thin and light, this competes like with the Dell XPS 13, only it's a convertible, or the HP Spectre X360. It's nice to see in a convertible that we've got this kind of power. Of course, you have the 360-degree hinges, nothing new here with the Yoga, and the usual very tactile ThinkPad keyboard. Now, since this is a very thin product, it's not going to be as deep travel and cushy as some of the thicker ThinkPads that are still on the market today, but it feels pretty comfy. You got smile-shaped keys, the whole thing, the track point eraser stick pointer for those of you who like that, and the new wider trackpad, which works just fine. They're upping the ante with audio here. It's really interesting to see business laptops right getting all the speaker love here. So they've got Dolby Atmos here, and they've got 4 speakers in the stereo configuration. And I have to say, it sounds pretty good. It certainly sounds better than average for a 14-inch laptop. You'd think consumer laptops would have the better speakers, but no. We got them here. And there's 4 far-field microphones too, largely, again, probably thinking about doing Zoom calls and all the video conferencing that some of us are still doing more of today than we used to do. One thing that's lovely about the ThinkPad Yoga and Carbon are the fact that you're not just relegated to USB-C Thunderbolt connections. Of course, 12th gen, so we have Thunderbolt 4 times 2 now. We have USB-A ports times 2. You have HDMI 2.0B, and of course a headphone jack. So pretty sweet there. And if you go with the optional WN, then there'll be a nano SIM card slot. So not a slouch on connectivity. The battery is 57 watt hour and it comes with a 65 watt fast charger. Battery life will depend on which display you get. We have the full HD one, and probably it's the 400 nit nominal display, given that it measured just over 400 nits. And battery life for us with light to moderate office-y kind of work and some streaming video was 8 to 9 hours easy without doing any draconian power management. So that's not bad. Expect less if you go with that OLED display, of course. The pen experience on this is pretty good. It's Wacom AES, like I said, and latest generation. And you'll get pretty good diagonal lines on this, certainly for its intended purpose, which is business, which is note-taking and diagramming. It's fantastic. It's good enough to do a little bit of art and have fun on that. And the display is actually nice enough for those of you who are thinking doing photo editing. Again, we don't even have the fancy OLED display or anything like that. And the color gamut is above average for its class. We like to see the Adobe and P3 color gamuts going above 80%, which this one does. It's got a bit of a glossy screen on it. It's not super reflective though, but that's a touch screen, so that's not unheard of. Okay, to take off the, well, clearly stated aluminum bottom cover on this. Yes, it's an aluminum chassis. All you got is 5 Phillips head screws to unscrew and then work it up from the back side or use a suction cup, and it comes off pretty easily. And here are the internals. We see the bottom-facing speakers, as usual, flanking the battery right here, which takes up a good deal of space. And right here we have the motherboard. We've got the M.2 SSD slot here. Now you can get this anywhere from like 256 gig all the way up to a terabyte SSD, and it'll come with a PCIe 3 standard, but you can order the 1 terabyte PCIe 4 if you have a great need for speed there. RAM is soldered on board, like I said, so no RAM slots here, no upgrading that. This is our heatsink right here, 2 small fans in tandem, and the Wi-Fi card is soldered on, which is not unusual for small, thin and light Ultrabooks. And that's right over here, and that's an Intel Wi-Fi 6E card, AX211, so that's a good card. And we see this open slot over here, half height. I would say that that is for the optional WWAN card, 4G or 5G, should you decide to go with that. And the 5G is sub-6, not millimeter wave. So that's the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga for 2022, Gen 7, in the new fetching Storm Gray. I know some traditionalists will miss the matte black finish with a kind of tactile finish. I know I kind of do too, but I think that this one's pretty much catching on. And for those of you who are under the age of 40, probably you're thinking this is pretty awesome and you have no attachment to the matte black ThinkPad. As ever, very thin, very light, a convertible with plenty of power and plenty of ports for a 14-inch Ultrabook, that is. I'm happy to see the OLED back, and it's always nice to have WWAN options. And the pen works quite well too. So, note takers, diagrammers, all of you brainstormers out there, this might be your laptop. I'm Lisa from MobileTechReview. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos and hit the notification bell so you know about them.